broken by Michael Gleeson at the Age newspaper, and Senator Jordan De Goey rejecting a contract offer from Collingwood, a 5-year contract offer as well, saying he will not sign the deal with the behaviour clauses that the club has inserted into that contract. And it has been communicated to the club that he will not be signing them while they remain. So this is a proper contract standoff now. I'm a bit torn on it, to be honest. Part of me says just sign the bloody deal. 5 years, back yourself in to not do anything stupid. I mean, Collingwood will need and will want some protection for a player who has crossed the line and damaged his and the club's reputation at times. I think that's beyond doubt. And then the other part of it is, well, what does he want Collingwood to do? Do they have to list the items that he will and won't be sacked for? Police involvement, 0.05, speeding, whatever it might be. He's just got to keep his nose clean for 2 years to earn the other 3 when it comes to this 5-year deal that is lucrative as well, according to the widespread report, somewhere around the $800,000 a season mark. And he has got leverage in the form of St Kilda at the moment. And that conversation with the Saints has never got this far in terms of the behavioural stuff. So he does have some play there. I just wonder if it also opens it up now to other clubs who might have a crack at this. I mean, Geelong had an interest. Could they resuscitate that with everything else they've got going on? It sounds like a very Sydney sort of opportunity at the moment with the Swans. Have a crack at someone like Jordan De Goey. And who's in the right and who's in the wrong here? And I've just a bit of ringing around as well, just to educate myself on how commonplace it is for clauses like this, without knowing what they are specifically, to be inserted in a behavioural sense into contracts. So we'll get through some of that in a moment as well. Steve's in South Morang. He wants to have his say on the player, though. G'day, Steve. Welcome.
Sammy, how are you?
I'm well.
Good. Just quickly, just a quick question before I make a point. Do we know what clauses he's with, or we're just making everything look bad on the kid?
No, we know that there are behavioural clauses inserted into the contract that Jordan De Goey says are too arbitrary, basically, Steve, that are too broad and with too much scope, basically. So he I think, would like some more specific clauses, if they are to be inserted into the contract, rather than them being so arbitrary as they appear to be at the moment.
Yeah, so when a contract gets put into somebody in any industry, it's all about negotiations. You're not going to put a contract in front of you and we're just going to sign the deal. So he's agreed on money. That's all fine.
Yep.
And now there's just a bit of so let's use the word, it's negotiations, not smash the guy that is not signed it, because all morning we've got Collingwood supporters on social media that are turning on him because it's all about De Goey and not about Collingwood. So we don't exactly know what the standoff is. It's called negotiations. The guy's going to end up signing. Now, everybody has behavioural clauses, but we don't know what clauses they are. Maybe Collingwood have said, you know what, you're not allowed to breathe at Collingwood unless you're gone. Well, you can't have that as well. So we don't know exactly. Until we find out, let's smash him or support him or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Steve, okay, that's news to me that everyone's sided with the club and not the player. I mean, we can only describe what's actually happening at the moment. What's happening at the moment is he's not signing it as it sits. And, yeah, you're right. It is a negotiation. Of course it is. And without being privy to the specific details of the contract, it is hard for us to say. We're only looking from the outside in. But in terms of having them inserted in the first place on top of the standard player contract, which is, put in place by the AFL, in constitution with the AFL Players Association, those sort of clauses exist. But there are so many, just speaking to player managers this morning, that are put in place for players historically. Everything from skin folds to alcohol to drugs to bonuses for even meeting skin fold targets, for bonuses for even meeting time trial targets, for running certain times. So it could be fitness, could be behavioural. You run within a certain time of your 2K PB, you get a bonus. Might be for Jordan De Goey, don't ride your motorbike to and from training. You can't leave Australia in season at any stage. So there could be any sort of clause put into it at the moment. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. I just I was keen to know how commonplace these clauses are, and it would appear as though they are relatively commonplace. It's a 5-year offer at the moment. think he'd be absolutely crazy to leave Collingwood with the path they are on there. They get the player, they understand the player. He's a good teammate. I think he's a good player. He's a good teammate. He's invested in the team. He's invested in his teammates. The players love him as well, which is the other side of things. And he had a great final series. So I'd be shocked if it doesn't play out in a positive sense from Collingwood. But as it stands at the moment, there's a fair bit to play out there when it comes to that contract. And Collingwood, look, they need to protect themselves at the same time as well. The other contract scenario, for far different reasons playing out at the moment, is the contract that currently sits in front of the Gold Coast former number 10 pick going back to 2016, their defender Jack Bowes, who is owed next year in the vicinity of $850,000. Now, that isn't the contract that he signed. It isn't even a back-ended contract. It is simply the money owed to him by virtue of the fact that he's pushed money down the road multiple times in recent season. So not on his own there, not on his own around the competition, but it's got to the stage now where 2 years to run on that contract. The Suns have got enough young talent. They've certainly got enough picks, and they're going to sweeten the deal, as we've spoken about a lot in recent times, with these players who other clubs can absorb the contract for. A lot of questions coming in. Surely North would be have the space in the cap to deal with his salary and could really use pick 7 should North chase it. I think just about every club should be chasing this deal. It is an outstandingly good deal. I've mentioned Geelong. The Saints we had mentioned as well. Now, there was a report that bobbed up yesterday via Fox Sports, I think, saying the Saints had pulled out of the running for Jack Bowes, and that certainly raised the eyebrows of the Saints champion Nick Riewoldt on the couch last night. It's definitely $850 next year. That is what he is owed. But geez, you'd have to speak to Jack specifically when it comes to renegotiating a new contract with Geelong. Would Geelong add another 2 years? Would they give him 4, spread out that money he's owed across 4? Would he forfeit some money to get to Geelong? Clearly, if he's holding his hand out for $850 again next year, you can forget the trade to Geelong. You could forget the trade pretty much to every club, perhaps bar North Melbourne, with that pick 7 attached. But can you imagine? I mean, this is the ruthless genius of Geelong at the trade table. You know, being a destination club, being a good club, they see enormous upside, it must be said, in Jack Bowes as well. They don't see a running back pocket. They see something a lot more significant than that. And once they get their development team on him, it's fair to say the Suns have seen enough, and that's fine, and they get the contract off the books. I think it's a perfect win-win. But can you imagine the Cats, like, for the high-end access they haven't had access to, high-end talent they haven't had access to in recent times, if they are to get Tanner Bruin in, first-round pick, if they are to get Ollie Henry in, first-round pick, and if they are then able to get Jack Bowes in, first-round pick, while improving their hand in the draft, which they also want to do when it comes to this year's draft in November, what an amazing situation the Cats find themselves in. It's going to be fascinating to see how that trade in particular plays out. We know the Cats are going to lose Sean Higgins. I think Luke Dalhouse follows suit, and I think we're guessing, but we think Joel Selwood will probably retire as well. So that frees up a lot right there and then. And then you got Asava Ratugolea and what he might do with year to run on his contract as well. Macca's on your team is back supporting local community sporting clubs across Victoria and Australia. So for your sporting club's chance to receive a $1,500 grant, you just need to go to mcdonalds.com.au/Macca's on your team and download the Cinefly app to submit your video application. All you need is your phone and a bit of creativity, to be honest. There are 153 grants available to any community sporting organisation based in Victoria and Tasmania that have under 500 participants, but you need to get a wriggle on. The deadline to apply is this Friday, September 30th, 2022.